Hi, I'm Hilary Hahn,
And I'm Jennifer Higdon.
and we are in
Indianapolis.
And What Just Happened?
World premiere of Hilary's Violin Concerto.
By you.
That's right. I'm the one who wrote
Not
it.
me.
Right.
I didn't write it.
But she did play it.
I tried.
A lot of notes this girl played.
You wrote a lot of notes.
I know. I think that part's my fault, actually. But I have to say,
No fault at all.
It was a lot of fun listening to it. I got the easy part tonight because I could just sit there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was
But you
easy
did all the
for
hard
me.
stuff earlier. I actually wanted to ask you about that, about the compositional process.
Right.
When you're writing for someone, what do you do to figure out where you start with all of that?
Well, I try to tailor-make these pieces, and I've known Hilary for quite a long time. I was trying to remember the other day. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
I think I took your class. She was my 20th century music history teacher right after she graduated from Curtis, and
That's
I was a
right.
student there.
That's right.
And I think I took that class in 95, 96.
Oh, my.
And I knew you before that, too.
That's right. Absolutely. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago?
That's 14 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. More time than I had
So
realized.
we've known each other for at least a decade and a half.
And I've known, actually, your playing for a while. That's the other thing. I've got your recordings, and I've heard you play quite a bit. And I remember us getting together to talk about what do you want in a concerto. And you knew you wanted a substantial work that was 30 minutes, right?
I didn't want something short.
Right.
And sort of
Something
cursory. I wanted something
we
with
could,
a little more
yeah,
meat in it.
I think delving into the music, and giving enough time for themes to unfold and to develop the ideas. But also, I remember asking you what concerto you like to play, and I remember hearing you play
Right,
the
I
Britten.
remember that, yeah.
That was a couple of years ago we had that conversation.
That must have been.
It was. It's people don't realize this, but it actually takes quite a while for a piece to come together. I mean, there's the talking about, there's the planning, and I have to fit it in my schedule, and she has to fit it in her schedule for doing the premiere. So
Because you have a lot of commissions going on, so
right.
You have a backed up schedule.
So I actually just set up a schedule and figure out where, and I try to allow enough time. With this particular piece, I think I allowed 6 or 7 months because I realized I needed to really think about what would work for you. And this is going to embarrass her, but she can play anything. So I was like, okay, I've got to dream really big.
Well, I like it when people write what's in their heads, and then
Yeah.
if that doesn't work for the violinist, that's the violinist's job to say, this isn't going to work either for me or in general.
Right.
And then you just kind of you talk it out then. But I think it's better to start overly ambitious, and often what people think is overly ambitious is really quite manageable.
And
really thoughtful and innovative. And that's
I have
the
to
nice
say,
thing.
the perfect example in this concerto was the Cadenza in the first movement, because when I wrote it, I sent it to Hilary and I said, tell me if it's not playable. I'm not sure this is actually playable. And she wrote back and said, no problem.
Yeah, it's completely playable. But you're not a violinist, so you have that concern as well.
I do. I think about that a lot. I'm a flute player, and so it's a different instrument. The lines have to fold out a little differently, and what we can do with the embouchure and overblowing things is, I think, quite different from what a violin would do. So it's for me, composing a concerto is like constant discovery. You're trying to figure out what other concertos do, and you look at the person you're writing for, and you can kind of tailor-make it. And I can say that first movement, your reach between intervals was a very
I remember we
important
talked
thing.
about that.
Yes, that's right. Because that was one of my concerns as a flute player. I wouldn't calculate that properly. So I thought a lot about the fact that a violinist has a certain reach, and I think you have an exceptional reach.
Yeah, my hand is lucky for me.
I think there's more than luck there, actually.
Actually, no, but my hand, I'm double jointed. I have a really flexible hand between fingers. And my fingers aren't super short and they aren't super long, but the tips are not too wide.
Right.
So that I can actually kind of contort a little bit more than some other people can. It's a
that's
pure
good.
physical thing. It's not, I work on it, I train it, but it's, most of that is physical.
I have to admit also in that first movement, I had just listened to your Schoenberg recording, which is stunning. I have to admit, I wasn't sure that piece was doable. But what I discovered when I was looking at it is you have all these great harmonics in it. And that's actually the opening of my concerto starts with harmonics. It was kind of like a leap of inspiration from your performance of the Schoenberg. That's where the opening came from.
And I would never put those two together because you took that idea and made it your own.
Right. So I was thinking about that Schoenberg recording, and I was thinking about your reach for that first movement, and that became, for me, the primary focus of that movement. I was thinking about your tone in the second movement. I actually pondered this a great deal, and I just love your sound, and I love your low notes, and I love your high notes, the low notes, the high notes, and
there's a lot of both.
Right, it's the extremes, and I thought, it's kind of nice to have a bunch of soloists in the orchestra do duets with you. So I thought, well, this is kind of a unique idea. There's some chamber playing. Sometimes it's 3 violins, 3 firsts. And so that's the whole focus of the second movement. It's the kind of the beauty of your tone. The third movement, fly forward. I realized I was actually working on this when we were approaching the Olympics, and I thought of the field and track events, where they're running across the tape at the end.
The Olympics, great athletic events, are the only things that move me to tears watching television.
Me too. I have that exact same response.
So emotional, and I've never really done competitive sports, so there's no reason. But I think
you do competitive
sport,
though, don't you? She does competitive sport. You do it because
I guess violin is very athletic.
Yeah, it is. It actually is more athletic. You know what? There's subtleties in the athleticism. I think your fingers, the bow control.
It's little muscle athletes.
Yeah, but it's so perfectly trained, and I have to say
it is very physical.
That last movement moves very fast, so you have to imagine Hilary flying forward across the racing tape at the end of the race.
I get my finish line finally.
I think we need to have a gold medal to get to you afterwards.
Well,
it's fun though. It's good. I have to say, working with a great musician, it's the composer's dream, and to actually get to hear it, sit there in the audience and listen, it's an incredible experience. It's quite amazing. Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you.